Hello, everybody. It is Wednesday once again. Boy, it seems like it's been forever. How does this work like that? I don't get it. I don't know. It didn't seem like it takes that long.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Yeah. All right. So as you can see today, my guest is Mr. Dave Kalz, and we've got a little bit of technical thing happen on, but hopefully he'll be joining in with us here in just a minute. Hello. I'm going to check our chat first thing here and see what we've got. Wow. Okay, this is wonderful. What is up, Casey? You are first. Thank you for being here. Everybody is rocking this thing. Damn, Casey, you are fast. We got Salvatore coming in second. And here we go. Emma Jade coming in third. How about that? All righty. All right. Hello. It's good to see all you guys. Yes. Thank you very much. Light up. Smack that like button. And then also you can subscribe to everybody that you like out there. Make sure you support all those guys because there's some really cool stuff. I keep bumping into different channels and things, and there's some great stuff out there. I love it. I don't watch a million of the other music ones, though. You know how that is. It's kind of like being a musician where they don't always do all the stuff. What's up, Drew? Oh man, lots of love going around here. This is awesome. You know, I bumped into a while back. I bumped into a channel that was a lot of fun to sit and chat. There's a woman out of New Zealand, and she had some really nice things. I'm going to kind of edit some things out from an episode where she was mentioning about the show. She had some very nice things to say about the show, and she even popped in. But I never know when she's going to be out there. I don't know if there's a notification thing on it or not, but I'm just trying to get it figured out when she's going to be there. But then come to find out she was out there last night. Dadgummit. So I love chatting in with her and throwing her some music facts and things like that. And she plays some music off of her Bluetooth speaker and stuff like that. So I don't know if she edits little blips in the middle, but it's one of those things where it's like, then you keep going. So say like every 20 seconds or so, as she's maybe talking over the music or singing along with it, then it like drops out a little bit. And so I'm like, I wonder if she does that, preps all these songs a little in them so that she doesn't, you know what I'm saying? So just, you know, there's a lot of responsibility to go along with that if you're going to be like a radio station. Anyway, so I was sad that I missed her. So Dave should be coming along here in a minute. Just to give you a rundown, Dave has an album. If you want to check that out, please do. I don't know why I use the word if when you check that out, because Dave's going to be here. And he's got an album called Relish. And I'm just going to read this little block to you while we're waiting here. Just received the news that Relish entered the Billboard Blues Albums chart at number 6. That's pretty cool. Beyond grateful and happy. So thank you, Mike Zito, Guy Hale, Joan Malatides, Mark Pucci, Michelle Gastiglia, and everyone at Gulf Coast Records and Hillside Global for giving me this chance. That's pretty fantastic. Oh, and look at this. I'm going to mention her in a minute, and she's actually going to be back on the show soon. Major thanks to Katie Cruz and Gordon Atkins for being the first radio station and the only St. Louis area radio station to jump on board K-Wolf 101.7 Rocks. So that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. I was just getting ready to mention Katie Cruz while we're chatting a little bit. So I'm going to make sure I got my notes here ready to roll because I got to have the lightning round going. How's everybody doing out there? I've got this really cool show thing that I'm going to work up for June. I think it's going to be a regular piece here on a Wednesday. I'll just make it one of my non-interview days. And so I actually texted my friend. You guys have heard me talk about Bob, my buddy Bob before. We hung out in high school, and he actually hung out. AC/DC was playing in bars when he lived over in Australia. So it was really wild to talk to him, and just some cool albums and cool music, he turned me on to some of the stuff that has remained some of my all-time favorite classic favorites. He turned me on to that stuff. Like I said, Chips Enough really blew me away when he told me he saw Kiss. That's not it. I see. I do it again. So not Kiss, but Queen saw him 3 times, and one of those times was with Bill Nelson's Red Noise. Now, if you guys are ready, I'm going to bring Mr. Dave Kalz in just a second here. He is with me. All right, let me do this and put you right in. Dave, what's up? Let me unmute you, and then you should be ready to rock. Oh, come on. Unmute the mic. Okay. Uh-oh, I lost him again. Hopefully he'll be back. We'll get him back. He'll be here. Let me see here. Okay, don't do any of that. You hit something and you're like, thanks, Emma, you're all ready. He'll be back. We'll get him. I don't know why it says not connected. Wonder, I just got to make sure that I don't hit anything, because they give you the options. Kick from studio. I don't want to do that. Ban from studio. I don't want to do that. So I'll just wait. Try it again. Step out. Try it again. Come back in. Hopefully that'll work. He lives out in, thank you for asking. He lives out in Arizona now, in an area where I'm familiar. When I was growing up, my grandparents lived nearby, but then moved to the American Sun City out there in Arizona by Phoenix. And so I spent a lot of time out there as a kid. We'd go out and visit. Not a lot of time. I mean, it's not like we went out there all the time, but we had a classic. It was great. My brother was getting ready to get his license, and we had this classic Charger, blue. It was like this bright kind of cyan blue with a white vinyl, how it was like a portion of the roof and then down. It was like that. And I remember him driving us out there a lot. He had to put in so many hours, of that. So will he be back? He will be back. I'm hoping he will be back. I put a little bit too much V in that, didn't I? Will. It's not a will. It's a will. I will be back. It's not even a will, really, right? It's just I'll be back. I don't even know why I put a will in there. That's my dad. So here is, I'm going to show you this. Sugar monkeys. All right, there you go. There is Dave Kalz's album Relish. Check it out. You can check it out streaming as well, and you can purchase that. The songs he has on there is Mexico, Relish, Flying High. Let's see. This one is cool. Werewolf Blues. And that features Mike Zito. Mike Zito's big here in St. Louis. Stone Cold Stock, Route 666. Wait, that's the Highway to Hell. She's got a Hemi, Taxman, Coffee with Muffin. I Can't Quit You, Baby. Playing the Blues with My Friends. There might be, obviously, there's going to be some stuff on here that I can look at for my band as well. So check that out there, and you're going to love it. Some great bluesy stuff. And Dave and I became acquainted when he was here in St. Louis. He was from here much longer than I ever was. And then he used to book bands here in town and then would play with multiple bands. So we're going to find a little bit more about that. The cool thing is once you listen to the album, if you go to his website, which is davekalz.com, it should be down below. If you scroll all the way down on the homepage, you'll read about the album, the latest news, signing with Gulf Coast Records. And then he says, Dave talks about the songs on Relish. So he goes through each one of the songs. So I'll let you do that because there's some cool information in there. I don't need to get into that because there's too many other things to talk to him about. So hopefully he comes back here. Yeah, isn't it fun? It's cool. I love, I love doing album covers too. I've done those. I'll do a deep dive with you guys in my life with Ron Keel, probably right before I have Ron on. And that way we don't, he's super busy. He's got tons of stuff going on. So he uh-oh. Okay, good. Sorry. I moved something and it totally made my screen go black. So I'm not touching anything else again. So yeah. The one thing that I'm working on, and I hope Dave can make it back in here. Let's see if we can get him. I hope it works out. He was here, but I couldn't hear him. So the one thing I'm working with that I was looking at today is, remember me talking about that album, Heavy Metal, the compilation album? I'm kind of working on that. I'm going to make me a little show about that. So I threw a question out to my friend Bob. Hopefully he'll be getting back to me about that and answering that question for me, because it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. I proposed a question to him about the band Angel, which I didn't know until they were done, really, is when I found out about Angel. The live album had just come out along with the studio album, and that's when he played me Sinful and Hell of a Band, and then they did the live album and they were done, and they were in the movie. That's it. Thank you. You have to fix some things sometimes, right? Because these, as I told you, it's a big corporate thing where I don't know how these guys did it. Okay, I just got a note. Still working on this. Keeps blocking his camera. Let me just say, can you go through? Like, I do this on a different thing. I go through Firefox. Does anybody remember that movie? Anybody see that movie? I still like that movie. I've got it on DVD. I've got it on Laserdisc up there. Oh no, if Dave has no show, we should get a rain check. We should. That also reminds me, Dave's not here, man. Reminds me of Cheech and Chong. I was so here's an interesting story for you. So we have new neighbors behind us, and Lance Jennings. Hey, Lance sent me something the other day. He sent us something, shall I say? And it included the Blues Brothers. So that's some good music talk. So let me see here real quick. Oh wow, I totally missed that note. Yikes. Let's see, installing Firefox. Okay. Wow, he's gonna go the long mile with us here. That's great. Okay. So what was that? Here it is. You sent us on this date. It was, what was on the date? It was yesterday or 2 days ago. In 78, the Blues Brothers made their first appearance on Saturday Night Live. Must have been, well, it would have been whatever, a couple days ago, right? April 21st. Yeah, so Monday, you wrote this. Monday. Yeah. So the 22nd. So on the 22nd of this month, the Blues Brothers debuted on Saturday Night Live. That was a fun show. That was great. That's classic. If you've got access to the classic stuff, check it out. What's Emma saying about is what really is one of my favorite musicals. Oh man, 48 years ago today, Lorne Michaels, the producer of Saturday Night Live. Now, how weird is that? Offered the Beatles $3,000 to reunite. $3,000? That was it? 48 years ago. Okay. That seems really cheap to perform on SNL. Huh. So Yeah, Firefox. That's a fun movie. I'm gonna have to, maybe I have to watch that this weekend. So you really like 2000? I don't think I've ever watched it. I don't, and that's another thing. I'm gonna write these down, right? Because somebody just mentioned Airplane today, and I'm like, I have got to rewatch that. And then sometime down the line here, I've got to get a copy of Airplane 2. I don't think I have that. I did just order a bunch of stuff because sounds almost like an insult. Are you talking about me talking about 2000? I certainly meant no insult at all. That is not. Although it is kind of interesting. Do you know anybody where you're like, can't stand that movie? And they're like, oh, that's my favorite one. You're like, are you serious? Like, let's say Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters 2. Yikes. Can't take it. But somebody I know goes, "Oh, that's my favorite one." You're like, "Are you serious with me right now?" Or the Rise of Skywalker. That's my favorite one. I'm like, "Okay, wait a minute. How do you watch films and what's important to you?" That's all I need to know. When when we're talking that way, that's all I need to know is like, what? So 3K for Beatles. Is that what it was, Lance? Here we go. Yes. He was on air and had the check written and ready to go. Months later, George Harrison appeared to get the check and said the check was chintzy. Oh man, that's great. That's great. I'm getting ready to do some recordings. Here's one of my all-time favorite. I know this is a little jumpy. I'm all over the place here, but I'm getting ready to do some recordings, and this is the first one I'm going to start with here. I don't know if anybody's a big fan of those Frog and Toads, but then I'm going to send the audio. Shh, don't tell my son. Don't tell him. I'm going to send the audio with the book so that he can listen to it. Don't tell anybody. Don't talk to Lally about it. Don't say nothing. Okay? Rise of Skywalker has a fantastic ending. Check it out, Stu. Salvatore, I think the fact that it does end, that's probably the best part. Should I check it out when it goes and then runs the credits? Maybe that's the best part. I'm just saying. Let's see. So legend is also, more added to the legend, is that when Lorne Michaels appeared on air with the check, John Lennon and Paul McCartney were at John's New York apartment watching the show. Holy crap. Jeez whiz. Because you said that, okay, 76. Wow. That's incredible. 76, 3,000. I guess. I mean, how much was that back then? That's the interesting part. I don't know. It's kind of weird. But I did just purchase something. I kind of splurged. You know me. I don't do that all the time. You know. Nah, Stu, the credits are too long in Disney's. Should I just fall asleep with the music? Maybe that's what I should do. What is up, Crimson Cross? Thank God. Good to see you here. Oh, man, that is great. Yeah, definitely ROCKIT. Thank you very much. We're hanging tight. Dave's going to be back. He was here, but something was going on, so he's installing something else, so we can maybe do this. I hope you guys have been checking out Facebook. I've been putting it out there. I started remember the other day, I went through my the Smooth Rock Cool Grooves double set that I put together myself, the mixed CD. So thank you very much. You got it. Support us because we want to keep doing stuff like this and having some great interviews. And I'm going to do a last ditch effort here, guys. I'm going to do a Hail Mary and try to get Judas Priest on the show before they are here on the 5th. If I can't do it then, I don't know. I'm going to see, but we'll see how it goes. So Yeah. Thank you. So if you've not noticed on Facebook yet, make sure you check out the page. I've started putting them out there. I'm going to make it kind of like radio, and just that's how the station is building, right? So I'm putting out there right now the track by track. So today's track is still yet to come. So keep your eyes open on that. So yeah, it's cool. Things are happening. So getting ready to do some stuff. Summer is coming. I don't know if you guys have heard, but summer is coming. We're almost to May. Yes. May it please show up soon. Then the school year's over, and then I get to work on the house. So I got my buddy Ron Matthews. He and I are going to do some work on the house. So it's going to be really, really cool. Yeah, I'm really going to give this a shot. I sent out an email. You know what, guys? Do you want me to check my email while we're here? I'll do that. Thank you for asking. Let's see what we've got going. Okay, good. It went straight to it. All right. So let's see which account we've got. That's not the right account. Let's switch accounts. See if okay, here we go. Nice to meet you. Following below. Oh, sugar. Oh, yeah, no. Yeah. Yeah. Into an interview. Yes. Chance. Oh, okay. So okay. Yeah. You ever hit the wrong button when you're doing an email, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'll attach something, and you go boop and it sends it. You're like, no, I didn't want to send it. I wanted to just put something in. But that's what happened. So yesterday, the $6 Million Man, Lee Majors, turned 85. And not only that, but Joyce DeWitt, and that goes along with this because she was a dancer and a singer. She is, you know what I'm saying? I don't know how much she dances anymore. That's all I'm saying. She had a birthday yesterday too, right? Is that right? She turned what, 70 something? I hope. Sure, check email. Yeah, I did. Yeah, so fortunately, I just don't know if I think she got it all. So I don't know. This is my contact that my buddy Ron Keel told me to make. So hopefully that'll work. Yes, there you go. Lance, she turned 75. And here it is. Dave, what's up?
Is it working?
It is working.
Hey.
See, sometimes that Google crap, I just don't know.
I'm telling you, man, it was a big hassle, but Firefox got me in, so that worked.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's great. Let me see if I can. Good. I'm gonna see if I can turn mine down just a little bit and see. So I'm getting a little bit of an echo.
Hello.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine. There's no echo.
Good. Let me see what I've got here. I'll tell you what, these, I don't know about you, Dave, but it's like crazy with all of the things that are very dark, small print, they imprint things on plastic now, and you're like, okay, you have to get it in the right glare to see it. And it drives me nuts sometimes.
Yeah, I probably had to get these.
Yes. Yeah. Let's see here. I'm going to see.
I fought it for a long time. Yeah, my eye doctor was like, how do you drive? I'm like, you don't understand. I used to play at Pops.
That's fantastic. Probably one of the dumbest things I ever did. See, here we go, folks. One of the dumbest things I ever did. We all have those times in our lives where we're like, just like, no, it's cool. I got it. Well, I went to the eye doctor to get my eyes checked, and they dilated my eyes, right? So they'll give you sunglasses to take. And I'm like, they're those big, heavy duty sunglasses.
Right.
Well, I thought I had some sunglasses in the car, and I'm like, no, I got it. It's cool. I stepped out. It was a sunny day. I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. It was stupid. I just thought I was too cool, and I thought I had sunglasses in the car. I didn't. I drove home like that.
Yeah. You know, the same thing happened to me.
Oh,
Fortunately, I lived very close to the eye doctor at that time because that's when I still lived in Missouri.
yeah.
It was right down the street, but just even driving like a mile home, it's like, oh my God. Took an Uber home.
And fortunately, because you know the area, I went from Olive to Dorset. That's
Close. Yeah.
thank God.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. And that was the weirdest thing, just moving your head around to try to, woo. Yeah. Never again. Never again. So let's get rolling here. This Emma Jade, one of our guests here, says, Dave does have a little reverb. Yeah, I am your father, she says. So every show, Dave, I start with a lightning round. So I'll do that real quick. Usually it's like five quick questions that are
Okay.
lightning roundish. So let us get started with that. I thought of a couple other ones here. So with all that's available now to us through streaming, are you a classic TV show watcher or a new program watcher or somewhere in between?
New program.
New program?
Yeah. Not that I don't watch the classics, but
yeah,
there's so much great new stuff between, Netflix and Hulu and Amazon and,
yeah.
And, I keep going, I'm going to eliminate some channels. Oh, wait, I want to watch this show. I really think we're in the golden era of television as far as like our lifespans have known it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of things happening. And then there's a lot of, I don't know, I get particular about certain things. And I'm like, sometimes I don't look forward to seeing new stuff because I'm just, it loses me at some point, or I'm just like, this is too damn dark. I'm like, the world's already weird and dark enough. Why are we doing this too? I don't know.
Yeah, sometimes I need to just watch a dumb, happy show or, because some of the stuff I watch is really dark,
Yeah.
Big Dave fan, a lot of his stuff is pretty dark. Just watched that show Constellation.
Oh, I haven't heard of that.
That's on Apple TV.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
And, it's if you're into sci-fi, it's a good one.
Yeah, I do like sci-fi. There's a lot of sci-fi out there though that I still haven't watched, like oh shoot, I can't remember the one. It was on around the same time as the 100. And
I haven't seen that one yet either, and I've heard it's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot. It's hard to think about. Constellation's interesting because it explores like what if, there were multi-dimensions and there were two versions of you living two different lives.
Mm-hmm.
And what would happen if somehow you were in outer space as an astronaut and those two lives collided, so it's interesting.
That's trippy. And that comes to light, too, with some of the things that they're finding out there where they're finding some of the planets with some carbon residue. And you're like,
Yeah.
You're like, something's happening. Resident Alien on Sci-Fi and Netflix is pretty good. Hope it gets a season 4.
I've been wanting to watch it. That's more funny sci-fi.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah. I need to check that one out.
Yeah. Well, thanks for letting us know about that too, Emma, because we started watching it here and just never finished. Let's see here. Let me see here. First instrument that you had, and do you still have it?
The first instrument I had was, I believe, a Stella acoustic guitar. And it is long gone. I don't even know what happened to it. I think my parents pulled it out of a closet and said he's never going to play this and got rid of it. But I remember I got it when I was in 3rd grade, and my parents signed me up for guitar lessons.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a teacher whose He's not. I don't think he's with us anymore. I think he passed away.
Okay.
He was a pretty well-known teacher around St. Louis, so I'm not going to mention his name because he basically got out a Mel Bay book and was teaching me how to play Mary Had a Little Lamb.
Gotcha.
And, you know, third grade, my attention span, I was into that for about 3 seconds, and so. You know, my parents would set a timer and force me to practice, and I'm like, Dad, you know, I just didn't like it at all. I hated it. And then when I was 15 years old, a friend of mine who lived behind me, his name was Kenny Boyd.
Yeah.
And Kenny had a bass, he had a guitar, he had a drum set. You know, he was like learning all these instruments and stuff, and I was like, man, I think I want to take guitar lessons, you know. And so I found that old Stella in the closet, and my dad played piano and organ and stuff. And so he had a piano bench, and I started just looking through his sheet music, and I found this sheet music book, and in the back of it, it had guitar chords, you know, with the little display emblems. Yeah. And so I started teaching myself some chords. And then I was telling Kenny, I was like, I want to take guitar lessons, I think. Who do you take lessons from? He's like, Glenn Simpson. I'm like, who's Glenn Simpson? He's like the guy who teaches everybody in Jennings. That's where I grew up. And I'm like, oh, where's Glenn live? He's like, right there. He lives right behind you. I'm like, really? He goes, yeah, well, come on, let's go over and knock on his door. You know, so we went up there, and Ken answered, and he was just like, you know, this. I thought he was old then because he was like 28, right? But you know, he's a healthy guy, and
to be 28.
Right, I know. And anyway, I signed up for lessons. So my first lesson with Glenn, he taught me how to play "Born on the Bayou" by Creedence Clearwater.
Yeah.
And I was like, "This is what I'm talking about." You know. Then I was obsessed with guitar.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It just took over my whole life. But I don't know what happened to the Stella. It's it just, you know, mysteriously disappeared. I couldn't tell you what happened to it. But shortly after I started learning, I had another friend up the street named Jim Bellum, and Jim had this old bright blue Teisco guitar in his basement. And so it's like, hey, dude, what do you know, what's up with the guitar? And he goes, oh, I don't know. I think it was my sister's or something, you know, and because he had like 3 sisters. And anyway, I said, you want to sell this thing? And he's like, yeah, I'll sell it to you for $40. So I paid $40, and one of his sisters, it might have been Joyce, I can't remember, but a few years ago, I remember one of his sisters told me, you know, that was my guitar. Like, well, Jim owes you $40. So that was my first electric.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, you got here, hey, Dave, from Ginger and Brian in St. Louis.
Oh, yeah. Ginger knows all the people I was just talking about. Hey, Ginger and Brian, how are you guys? Miss you guys.
Yeah, that's coming up for you here in just a minute, too. I'll address that again. Let me see. St. Louis, I'm going to hold on to that one. Let's do, were there any venues after you left St. Louis or that had closed down maybe while you were still, when did you move to Arizona?
At first we moved to Wisconsin. We spent
That's right.
frozen years in Wisconsin. The summers are beautiful, but they're like 2 months long. So like doesn't get warm until June, and then by August it's getting cold again.
Absolutely.
And I was just like, man, get me the hell out of here. But Milwaukee's cool. It's a cool town. Madison's cool, you know, close to Chicago. Wisconsin's a beautiful state. It was just too cold.
It is.
Arizona's too hot, on the other hand. I seem to go from one extreme to the other. But
I was going to say, you got.
Yeah, I got my wish, and I'm frying in the sun.
But as they always say, it's a dry heat.
It's a dry heat, yeah. So it feels like your skin is cracking as opposed to like sweat running down everywhere. So it's I mean, Arizona's cool, man. It's a beautiful state. if it gets hot in Phoenix, you can get in your car and drive 2 hours to Flagstaff, and there might be 2 feet of snow on the ground.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
And Sedona, of course, is beautiful. That's less than 2 hours away from us.
Yeah,
Arizona is a beautiful state, but ultimately we have decided we do want to move back to St. Louis. So, but Arizona's great. I'm going to enjoy it while I'm here. We moved to Wisconsin in June of 2020.
Okay.
In the middle of the pandemic. And selling and buying a house with the pandemic going on was pretty interesting process. But
wow,
we did it. And then we got to Wisconsin, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna attack the Milwaukee music scene. I'm gonna get up there and I'm gonna go and meet people and start getting some gigs. And I had all these ideas like, I broke through in St. Louis. I can break through up there, and we got there and everything was closed.
No, yeah, that's yes.
No clubs to go to.
Oh.
So, yeah. And, Milwaukee was one of those cities that stayed closed up for a fairly long time.
Wow.
So, I did start getting, some nice gigs up there and stuff towards the end, but we were already kind of on our way out. So I met some really nice people up there in the music scene. But yes, that's when I moved. So
what did you find was the I'll ask you this real quick, and then I'll finish that question here in a minute, because this is important. Okay. What did you find the difference? Let's go, you're in St. Louis, you go up there to Milwaukee. So what did you find was a difference? I mean, obviously you said it's COVID time. That's tough to say, but once it passed away a little bit, then did you find a big difference? Or did you find a big similarity between this area and there as far as patrons and that kind of thing?
Well, both, but definitely, here's what I've learned from living in other states and cities. St. Louis has a kick-ass music scene. Nobody else. No, Chicago, of course, has a great music scene. I mean,
right?
How can it not? It's got 12 million people or whatever it is.
Right.
But St. Louis's music scene, it's really something special. And the rest of the country is not like St. Louis. I think a lot of it goes back to KC95, and growing up with that station. Like my wife will say, oh, every city's got a KC95. Every town had a classic rock town, and every town had a classic rock radio station, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. I disagree with her completely, because KC95 broke REO Speedwagon. They helped break Sammy Hagar. They played bands like Gypsy and was Lakeshore Drive who did that. But anyway, all kinds of acts that KC broke and that KC featured, where these bands became rock stars in St. Louis, but nowhere else, And for a long time, even Sammy Hagar, he didn't play big venues as big as he did in St. Louis and other places. He does now, but KC was special, and I think it really locked a lot of people into not just rock music, but rock music that would really push the limits, because they would play a whole side of an album by Yes, and
right.
So because of that, I think St. Louis has got this really unique music scene, and I think it's really propped up now by people 40 and up for the most part. But the thing is other cities don't have that. They don't have the depth of history, and they don't have the intensity of the musical connection that St. Louis has. And you just don't see, I'm trying to find a way to word it, but you just don't see the obsession with music like you do in St. Louis.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so many people in St. Louis, grew grew up listening to that and were inspired to learn how to play guitar or bass or drums or whatever, you know, and maybe some got inspired by rock and roll music on Casey and then moved into deeper things. Maybe they got into jazz fusion or whatever, you know, but they were inspired by Casey on the onset. And I think it's produced a lot of wonderful, something in St. Louis produces great musicians. That's for sure. I can tell you out in Phoenix, you know, where we got 7 million people here and there's a shortage of good musicians.
Really?
I work all the time. I played 18 shows in 21 days. I don't know anyone out here, but I've met a few people, and so I keep getting called for gigs, and it's crazy. I'd still rather be in St. Louis, even though I can work more often out here. The quality of the St. Louis music scene beats any place I've been. You know, when you, I mean, just for the obvious example that everybody refers to would be like El Monstero. You know, you don't have a band like that in other cities. It's a real enigma. The tribute thing is big everywhere. You know, that's not unique to St. Louis, but the quality of the acts in St. Louis are really something pretty incredible. So
Yeah, I think that is absolutely true. I know that, you know, we have recording bands here like Divine Sorrow. We have, and then Aaron Hagar, Sammy's son, was just here in town, which was great. And Divine Sorrow did that gig with him. So it was really,
he lives
really
in St. Louis.
Yeah.
He lives in St. Louis? I didn't know that. Wow.
No, he came out here. My buddy Ron hooked it up at the Funny Bone, because then he did a kind of a stand-up thing where he talked about his life as Sammy's son and had some photos, and then Divine Sorrow came back up on stage with him and they did some Sammy tunes. So
wow, that's pretty
it was
cool.
a neat night, really neat. And so hopefully he'll be coming back out, do some more. So
now, before somebody says something, I realized that Nashville has an overflow of good musicians. You know, it's almost like the opposite thing, where it's like there's too many great musicians there, and so nobody really gets paid unless they get on a tour or they get in the recording circuit. You know, it's harder to get paid down there because, like, you know, there's guys who can play guitar like Pat Metheny lined up down the sidewalk. You know, so but the difference is Nashville is this big magnet that is drawing musicians from all over the world, and St. Louis, these people were just born there and raised, you know, and it's not, great musicians are not moving to St. Louis. Some have moved back, and some have left, but you don't see people like, you know, in Chicago or LA or anywhere else going like, man, I'm tired of the traffic, I'm going to move to St. Louis, you know, but they're doing that in Nashville. So I realized that that's got a ton of great musicianship, but it's not organic, you know. So the thing that's special about St. Louis is all the great musicians that were born and bred and raised there, and stay there. And I used to always wonder, man, why do so many people stay here? Like when we left, I'll be honest with you, I couldn't wait to get out. I was so sick of a lot of things about St. Louis that I just wanted to leave. You know, I was like, you know, I knew I would miss the people, but there were things about the town that was driving me crazy. And I realize now that those things were not the important. That wasn't the important stuff. I was letting myself get too affected by things that didn't really matter to the quality of life. So leaving was probably the best thing I ever did, because it made me realize what a great city it is. And man, my wife too, she feels the same way. She's an Iowa native, but she loves St. Louis. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
You know, you mentioned and you mentioned Casey, and it's an interesting thing because I'd heard about it. I'm originally from Peoria, so we had our own. Yeah, it's not too far, and we were Cardinals fans. Well, All the boys in the family were Cardinal fans. Me and my brothers and my dad, Cardinals fans. My mom, Cubs fan. So we could never understand that outside of the fact that her sister lived up in Chicago. That was all we could do. But when I moved down here, I mean, it was like now I'm in Keishi land. And when I moved down here, they were still at Crestwood. And I remember going into the studio and I found this Westwood One album, like they were going to get rid of it. It was like in the trash because they just, they'd get all that stuff all the time. And I was like, that's gonna get thrown away. They're like, oh yeah, do you want it? I'm like, yeah. So it was a whole Westwood One thing on 38 special. And so it was great. It was nice to be welcomed into the studio because I'd done 9 months on the radio in college time and not working for a studio, radio station for the show, for the college, but doing an actual one. And so being welcomed in there was great. They were very friendly, had me in, and I got to check out the studio. And it was the same thing when they were at Union Station. Same thing there too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, that's very cool. And I guess I should be clear that I'm talking about the old Keishi.
Yes.
I mean, the people that are Keishi now are just as wonderful. There's really only a handful left, right? But they're great. And it's got Gherkins on there now, which is awesome. It's they still got great people. It's just times have changed. It's corporations bought out by the independent station.
Yeah. It's now it's just about business. It's more just business than it is. I don't know because Did you ever see the movie FM?
Yes, I did. Saw it at the theaters. Wow.
Yeah. Oh wow. I wish I would have. I've had the soundtrack for years, but never saw the movie until I got married and past in the 90s I saw it finally.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah. No, my mom and dad drove me and my cousin to the theater to see it.
Wow. Yeah. What a soundtrack and 4 rock and roll cameos on there.
Yeah. That's cool. I was a big Hardball fan because I used to watch Fernwood Tonight. And so that was actually the driving force for me to see that movie, but it was great.
Wow.
It's really all about rock and roll and radio. And
it is.
Kind of bring the future a little bit,
Yeah. It's one of those where you're like, that can't really happen. But you're like, it's still fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
I should take a little bit of that into the movies that I can't stand now. I should chill out a little bit like that. So in talking about that, what are some venues? Did you play all the venues you wanted to have played when you were here? Or is there something you wish you would have played and it closed down or whatever?
Yeah. So for the most part, I have played all the venues I wanted to play. And maybe that was what was on my mind when I left. I was like, I've accomplished everything I wanted to accomplish here. Mm-hmm. There's nowhere really left to go. And I was wrong in thinking that because there is still places to go. They're just possibly out of reach, I don't know. But I did get to play. I got to play at Chesterfield Amphitheater. I got to play at the Pageant and Delmar Hall and Wildey Theater. And even when I was younger, Club 367. Is that what it was called? The old.
I think that's right. Isn't that right? I
think so. Up in North County by the top of the tower, which is a condemned building now. But I played most of the places that I wanted to play. What I didn't, every town has places like that. But when I'm in Phoenix or I was in Milwaukee or Chicago or whatever, I couldn't pick up the phone and call Pat Hagen and say like, hey, how you doing, Pat? When I talked to him a couple weeks ago, I called him up and asked him a question. He's like, hey, Dave, getting hot in Arizona? Like I don't have that rapport with people in Arizona. I don't have, like out here, I could go to like a strip mall bar and, try to get booked. And they're like, who are you? And it's like starting over, man. It's pretty hard. I've been pretty lucky out here and I've gotten some pretty good gigs, but what I have in St. Louis took, it took decades to build that up. I did spend countless hours doing shots with bartenders and meeting managers and doing shots with musicians and doing shots with sound guys. For some reason, shots keeps coming up, but that's what it was in those days. You hung out at the bars and you drank with people and you built relationships. Well, I don't want to, my age, I don't want to go hang out in bars every night. I hit some open mic nights here in Phoenix that are pretty fun. And there's some pretty cool people out here. People are really nice out here. And the musicians I've met are super nice and awesome. And I've met some incredible musicians. It's just that the ratio to good musicians versus how many people live here is what I'm talking about. Like St. Louis it's not a huge city by any stretch of the imagination, but it's got an enormous amount of talent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's great players everywhere.
Absolutely. So what would you compare Phoenix to? What city as far as the size and the different the amount of clubs or anything like that? Is it bigger than St. Louis, do you think?
Yes, it's absolutely bigger than St. Louis.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's one of the best cities in the United States, so it just keeps getting bigger.
Lots of rock stars out there.
Hey, I found this great guitar shop it's in Scottsdale. And and it's called Bronson Guitar Works. And the guy that runs it, John Bronson, is truly, just an incredible guitar tech. He's right up there, like with John Higgins in St. Louis and guys like that.
Wow.
And he works on Joe Walsh's guitars, Nils Lofgren, Stevie Nicks' guitars, and they'll like come in there and hang out, kind of like people hang out at Killer Vintage or Gravity. The people will walk in there and just hang out, and it might be some 16-year-old kid, or it might be just some, dude that plays on the street corner, or it might be Joe Walsh. It's a pretty incredible place. It's probably the shop is tiny, man. It's really small. Like if too many people come in, they kind of got to wait in line to get into the store.
Oh.
But it's pretty cool that there's people like that floating around here, and there was one guy several months ago that was doing an acoustic happy hour show and at a restaurant in Scottsdale, and Stevie Nicks happened to be there, and she ended up sitting in with the guy. It's like,
wow.
So people are flocking here from California. They're moving to Arizona at like this. You'd almost think the whole state was on fire at the rate people are moving here. In fact, our neighbors that just moved in next to us came from California. They're leaving like crazy, and a lot of them are coming to Phoenix.
Wow.
There's even a movement that from like some of the native Tahitians that are against people from, they're saying California people go home, quit. They feel like they're artificially raising the values of homes because they're buying so many of them. But it's like, well, as long as they don't sell them next month, it's not an artificial, raise in value. It's a real raise in value. I am not really sure why so many people are flocking. Well, taxes are low here, which is pretty cool. So that might be why some people are flocking here. But it's so hot, man, in the summer. I don't, like California does have really nice weather. And I think some of the people that are moving here, when it gets to be like June, July, and August, they're going to be like, oh my God, what did we do? But
like snowbirds going to Florida.
yeah, there's so many snowbirds that come down here in the winter that it increases the population by 1 to 2 million for the winter.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And all of a sudden traffic jams are worse and lines are longer at stores. And it's just from so many snowbirds that come down here. It's crazy. And that's part of the reason there's so much work in Phoenix. I get all these gigs playing these like RV resorts and stuff, that are just full. I don't mean like RVs like you see going down, 270 every day. I mean like these, $150,000, $200,000 RVs that are luxurious.
Like a Prevost or whatever.
Yeah. And then also some that are like permanently built into the ground. So there's just a ton of them, and they all have these. They're kind of like country clubs. They're these RV resorts that they live at during the winter, and some of them have bands playing every single day. So it's a huge market here, and the pay is pretty good, and the hours are like 3 to 6 on Tuesday afternoon. Hey, we got an RV gig. Wednesday the 17th, we're playing from 4 to 7. It's like,
wow.
So it's pretty crazy. But it's not, the gigs aren't really anything special. They're just doing your typical cover band stuff, But
now, are you playing all original stuff at those, or do you do cover stuff too?
Those RV resorts are strictly cover band stuff. So
gotcha.
I played a couple times at the Rhythm Room here, which I would say is kind of like their off Broadway, similar to that in size and style. That's a good gig here. And then there's another place called Handlebar J's, which is owned by a guitar player from Lyle Lovett. And
wow,
it's actually a country bar, but they have all kinds of stuff. Like they had an Ozzy Osbourne tribute there a couple of months ago. So they don't, even though it's like a Western bar, they book all kinds of music. And and I've played up there a handful of times, and it's a really cool place because like all these legendary people have just walked in and sat in there. In fact, a few weeks ago, let's see, what's her name? The Waylon Jennings' wife.
Okay.
But it'll come to me. She was just there a few weeks ago. But and they have a house band, so it's like the guitar. And Lyle Lovett is sat in up there. The house band is like Lyle Lovett's guitar player, Glenn Campbell's old drummer. It's all these pro guys, really good. And I did a gig with that drummer a couple months ago, and he was just so good, man. Just incredible player, and has all these.
And when you have an opportunity to play with somebody like that, and you really dig their playing, what is it that like when I'm playing and I got that drummer going, when they throw something in, or is it when they stay right on the mark, or what is it that you like?
His groove, man. His groove is just killing, and it didn't matter what we did. And I do that song cover wise, I do that song Lay Down Sally by Eric Clapton. Seemingly very simple song. Man, it's hard to find a drummer to play that right. It's just like when I used to play the Petty Cash and do all that like Johnny Cash stuff, that fast training. It's hard to find a drummer, man. It's one thing to like start out doing a train, but where are you at 5 minutes later? A lot of them have slowed it down, and it's it takes a special kind of drummer that's really studied that stuff. Man, this guy, he could throw anything at him, and he was just like right on it. And then he sang his ass off, man. So
Wow.
just a great player, Of course, he's got chops, but as a bass player, it's more chops are great, but it's really about the groove because that's what's happening 99% of the time.
Yeah, there's times when I'm playing that I have to remind myself of that. Even when we're rehearsing, we just rehearsed the other night, and I'm like, okay, chill out. Just, being in a 3-piece though, I get concerned about it because I'm like, well, I don't want to be boring, but at the same time, you don't want to just throw too much in.
Yeah. Well, 3-piece band does give you more freedom, I mean, Cream was probably the ultimate trio and like guys who knew like when to fill it up and when to lay back. And they were the kings of that, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I strive to get closer to that.
Yeah. I strive to do a lot of things. It's like, I mean, even some of that, that country stuff we were just talking about, doing that chicken picking stuff, man. It's like,
yep.
There's a way to do it where your fingers don't feel like they're going to fall off your wrist, and trying to get that. I'm still trying to get that perfected. I've only been working on it for 20 years, so.
Give it some time, Dave. Relax.
Yeah, right. Maybe by 21 years, that'll be the magic number. I've got it. I never have to practice again.
Ta-da!
Yeah.
Oh man, let's see. I was also wanted to just make sure that I got back onto this one too. I think this is Brian saying lots of tequila shots with friends also.
Yeah, man. Greg, when I played with Dave and Greg, we used to play this Mexican restaurant in Maplewood, and Brian and Ginger came out, and man, both breaks, Brian and I are at the bar. They had all these different kinds of tequila, like just one of the best tequila selections I've seen. You're just like, let's try that one. Let's try that one. By the last set, I'm just like, how's this song go?
Oh, yeah. I can't do it. Although I was gonna get this out. I brought this over today. I'm a big ouzo guy.
Oh, I remember that stuff. Wow.
Because I love black licorice, and so, or if you want to say it right, I suppose it's licorice. But, but I thought I'd have a little shot of that while we were here. I didn't know I didn't really know what ouzo was like until I did a gig with Guy, Guy Kingsbury.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I remember when you guys put together. Yeah.
Yeah. And the he and the drummer who's now since passed, Steve Peacher, God rest his soul. They were at the bar. I'm like, what are you guys doing? They're like, we're going to have ouzo. I go, I'm in, because I've never tried it. And I only heard about it in a Blue Oyster Cult song and MASH. So, so we had some, and I fell in love with it. So I started realizing that Jägermeister is the working man's ouzo, is really all it is. That's how it goes.
I remember. Yeah. Ouzo is like, Jägermeister is like the, if it was tequila, it'd be, I haven't done it in so long. The cheap tequila that everybody drinks.
Why can't I say it? Jose Cuervo or?
Yeah, Cuervo. Yeah, I haven't had a Cuervo in probably. Well, I think I accidentally drank one night because somebody brought one to the stage, but I haven't drank a Cuervo on purpose in like 20 years. But yeah, I mean, that was my introduction to tequila, and then I realized that there was, that was equivalent to drinking Olympia beer. I found out about tequila.
I haven't heard that in years.
Now I hardly ever drink, man. But
that's what I was wondering. I was like, that's usually the way it goes these days. It's like, I don't drink much anymore.
Yeah, not much. Once in a while.
Yeah. And I never do at a gig. I don't.
I had one at a gig a couple months ago. I was playing at Handlebar J, that place we were just talking about. And, I hadn't ordered a drink in a long time because I don't drink much anymore. And if I do, it's usually because somebody will ask me what I'd like to drink. And even sometimes I'll say, oh, just give me a Diet Coke or whatever. But once in a while, I'll get like a good bourbon on the rocks. That's usually my go-to now. And so anyway, we were playing at Handlebar J and we were done with our gig. And I was like, well, I'm going to go get a drink, I think. And I ordered a Jim Beam on the rocks, because I was like, well, I'll get like the cheapest decent bourbon, and that was like $12. And I was like, man, what happened? when did Jim Beam go up to $12, man? It's like, man,
It's like,
what would I ordered a Maker's Mark? Would it have been like $30?
Yeah. It's like a box of Velveeta's $10 now. I'm like, excuse me?
Yeah.
I'm like, I got married. It was $3 a box. Now it's 10. Are they putting crack in there or something? I'm like, I don't know and we don't even need it. It's not even cheese. It's cheese food.
Right.
So
yeah,
I don't know. Drew says, I'm enjoying this conversation because I visited St. Louis and Scottsdale, Arizona at the same road trip. And it sounds so familiar. Also, he had ouzo, and it did not end well. Doesn't blame the ouzo. I was just ridiculously drunk.
Yeah. Well, I have to admit, I haven't done ouzo since like the 90s. And and if I was at a bar and I was doing ouzo in the 90s, it was not a good sign because it means I had gotten to like stage 4 or something. That's some strong stuff. It's like
Drew says also, I bought a bottle of tequila at a drive-through bar at the border of Arizona and New Mexico.
Yeah. Those are things.
Yeah.
They're in Florida too. I remember going to a gig. I lived in Florida too some years back for a minute, and I remember doing a gig in Florida one time, and I'm on my way to the gig, and I'm like, man, I really want to get a soda. It's like I used to like to drink like Diet Coke on stage because I felt it would like clear out my throat for singing.
Yeah, you kind of get the bubbles in there.
Yeah, it's probably because there's like the equivalent of gasoline in there or something, But
yeah,
I like, oh man, I don't have time to I got to get to my gig. I really don't have time to stop at a 7-Eleven or whatever, and the drive-through liquor store. So I just pulled in there, no line, went up there, and was like, "Can I get a bottle of Diet Coke?" And they're like, "Really?" I'm like, yeah. But I pulled in there, and in 10 seconds, had my Diet Coke, and I'm back on the road.
See,
yeah.
Don't call me ill-using. I didn't ill-use that liquor store.
Right.
It served me well.
Yeah, drive-through liquor stores are a thing.
I think there was one.
It's too hot. So.
I think they have a drive-through liquor store on the way to Portage to Sioux.
That wouldn't surprise me. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just
if
small little building.
If I could imagine a drive-through liquor store in St. Louis, it'd either be on the way to Portage to Zoo or on the way to Sauget.
So now I have to ask you this: when you were here, when you were here, what was the most bands? Okay, so here we go. What is the time frame, and what is the most bands you were in at one time?
I was in 7 bands at one point at once.
And what was the time frame?
It was in the 2000s.
Okay.
I can't remember if it was exactly what year period. Let's see if I can remember the bands.
See, that's what I mean. Petty Cash,
Dave Glover Band, Dave and Greg, Might have been, was that, let's see, Impala Deluxe. Trying to think if that's when I was in for a minute, I was also both in Big Love and Magazine. So that would be 6.
That's 6.
Oh, and a thing that we would occasionally do with Todd Thomas, mostly for private events, called Rockstar Live Band Karaoke, which is exactly what it sounds like. And you'd think as a musician it would be like the gig from hell, but you're sometimes you're laughing so hard you're crying, and Todd Thomas is probably one of the funniest people I know. Like, he's kind of serious off stage, but on stage, he's one of the funniest people I've ever been on a stage with. And
Did he?
I'm just thinking about some of the stuff he pulled off. It's just amazing. He was one of those guys who could say things, and he still is. He's one of those guys who can say things where anyone else, if they said that, they'd get punched in the face. But he can say it and people laugh. He's one of those guys. It's one time we got a group of girls at a table that didn't go well, and we thought we were going to literally get sued.
Wow.
That was crazy. Yeah, that was messy. But
did he have that great? Did he have a great? I am imagining because you said he was pretty serious off stage. I'm kind of getting an idea that maybe he had that dry, snarky personality.
Yeah, and just he's I just text message with Todd. That reminds me, I need to call him. Anyway,
that's why we're here.
Yeah, thank you for that.
To remind you of things.
Yeah, kind of like my wife.
This is a useful show. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yes, I'm having a good time.
Have a good time. Remember things. Camera away.
Since it's an internet show, can we use bad language? Can I cuss and stuff like that too?
You can. You say whatever the fuck you want.
Okay, that's fucking perfect. Anyway, no, Todd is. I miss doing that gig with him because he's so funny, man. And his sense of humor can be, it can be kind of sarcastic, but it can also just be outlandish, just like it can be outlandish physical comedy too. And he was a great host because he kept the show really entertaining. And he still does it. We still do that. I just don't play guitar with it anymore, but I still help him coordinate a band when he puts events together. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's a blast. So anyway, that would have been band number 7. And
what does he play guitar as well?
No, he's really just a host. He actually sings okay. He sings all right. Okay. And the songs he knows, he can do pretty well. Okay. But yeah, so he's doing that in the Dave Glover Band, Petty Cash, and Impala Deluxe, which was the original thing.
Now, Brian says, what about Dodge Harley?
Dodge Harley was before, I think it did coincide with Petty Cash a little bit, but it was before Big Love and Magazine.
Okay.
So, when I was in Dodge Harley, I'm not sure how many bands I was in at the same time, but it was up there too. Gotcha. And Dodge Harley is the thing that we did. It was one of these things that just kind of organically came together, and it was basically like if Saturday Night Live did a version of Hee Haw, that's kind of what we were doing. We were country and southern rocks and telling redneck jokes that were purposely politically incorrect. And I mean, honestly, you couldn't get away with it. The stuff we said in the mics and on stage, I don't think we could get away with it now. I just thought Greg was in it, and Greg would even go home and write stuff. He would write out little scripts of stuff he was going to say at the show. It was a really good band, we had this drummer Jerry Moon who could play like country and southern rock like nobody's business, you know. And it was a really fun band. And the original lead singer was a guy named Johnny Fox. And I remember the first gig we did, Johnny shows up and he's got these blue jean overalls on. And Greg walked up to him and he goes, man, that's a perfect outfit for this band. He goes, what do you mean? He goes, I mean, the overalls, you know, it's perfect for this group. And Johnny's like, man, that's just what I wear every day. You know? And that's why Johnny was perfect for that gig. And Johnny's a great dude, great singer, great guitar player, everything, you know, and we had a lot of fun. And if we didn't have, you know, a big drink of whiskey or something on stage, we made sure we had something that looked like it. But there was a lot of real time drinking on stage and a lot of jokes, and we played anything from like anything from Johnny Cash to like Marshall Tucker, you know, all that old 70s country and southern rock stuff, you know. And we had a house gig, like Jim Schutte at Cyberg saw the band and he loved it, and so we did a house gig at Cyberg's every Thursday night for like a year or 9 months or something like that.
Wow.
And we came up, you know, Jim and I sat down and came up with all these ideas, you know, and like the bar ordered in cans of Tall Boys and did Tall Boy specials on Thursday nights, you know. And,
oh, wow.
And, you know, it just embraced everything that was maybe would have been the old Jefferson County, you know, before Jefferson County became an upscale suburb, you know. I mean, it was like, it was some of the most fun I've ever had on stage. That's for sure.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And Brian was a fan of that band. Brian and Ginger came all the time.
Brian said it was an awesome band.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'll tell you, there's what remains now when you play out there, you do all the lead vocal work, or
in Phoenix
you have somebody else?
Well, yeah, a lot of the gigs I play out here are gigs I'm playing with people or bands that were already doing something, you know, where I just got a gig playing guitar with them. So I do some singing and all of this stuff, but unless I'm doing my own thing, like with my own band, then, you know, I'm just like a guitarist who's also singing some songs. And yeah, I don't never considered myself a lead singer, really. I'm just a guitar player who sings good enough to get by, you know. I can sing some Eric Clapton, Johnny Cash, or whatever. You want somebody to sing, you know, real stuff, like, you know, sing Steve Perry or Michael McDonald or whatever. Michael McDonald. I'm not that guy. You know, I can't do that stuff. You know.
Yeah.
I can do all that stuff, you know.
Okay. Because I know you were in Petty Cash. You had John Gore was in that.
Yes.
So,
yeah, John.
And now he's doing amazing work with his Billy the Kid, Billy Joel tribute, and his Dogs of Society, Elton John tribute, which are both playing. I'm trying to remember if the Billy Joel one has just done it or if he's getting ready to do that, and then he's also doing the Dogs of Society. Have 2 shows coming up in May on the 16th and 17th, I think. So,
yeah, he's got the Superman tribute too, Breakfast in America.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, I saw Dogs of Society early on when he first started it, because, you know, he was in Petty Cash. So Jimmy and I went down to off Broadway and saw John do his Dogs of Society very early on, and we knew it was going to do really well and be really good because he sounded just like him. And
man, that's great.
Yeah, and but the thing he's doing that really blows me away is the Supertramp thing. I really want to go see that, and I haven't. I didn't get a chance to see it before I left.
Yeah, and I've only just become aware of that today, I think.
Pardon?
I've only just become aware of that today when I called his wife and listened to the message.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, everyone I know that has seen it has told me it's great, that they're just nailing it. Yeah. So I saw Supertramp. Yeah, you should go check it out. You would, knowing the kind of stuff that you like, I think you would really enjoy that band.
Yeah.
And I saw Supertramp at Chesterfield Theater. I saw him at Riverport, back when it was actually called Riverport.
Right.
90, might have been 94, something like that. I don't know. But they were just amazing. That they brought in their own sound system. And it
Really?
just sounded like this is an antiquated word now, but it sounded like a CD. So crystal clear, just unbelievable. And do
you like Breakfast in America, of course, hit 79. I think that's when it came out. Did you have a favorite track from that record?
From Breakfast in America?
Yeah. So many were hits, but did you have something that maybe wasn't a hit that was a favorite song? Mine was, I'm trying to remember if mine was actually released as a single or was it a B-side to one of the hits? Because, but I want to know what your favorite song is off of that album.
Well, what I can tell you is it's probably my least favorite Supertramp album.
Interesting.
I probably liked Crime of the Century the best. And what's the one that has Another Man's Woman on it? The guy sitting
Crime of the Century?
No, that's the one with School and Bloody Well. Crime of the Century, I think.
Crisis, What Crisis?
That's it. Yeah. Yeah, I really like that one too.
Yeah.
You know, I thought Breakfast in America was a great record, but it was a little more poppy to me than their other stuff.
A great record for what it was.
Yeah, but there's no doubt that the guitar solo, A Goodbye Stranger, was just ingenious because the first half of the guitar solo is all one note. You know, just like, you know, just.
Yeah, that's interesting.
One of the best uses of a wah pedal ever. You know, so I heard that, I was just like, wow. So that's probably my favorite song in that album, just because of that guitar solo.
Okay, cool. As my favorite song was Another Nervous Wreck.
Oh yeah, yeah. There are some good cuts.
Yeah, that I like the lyrics. I like the energy about that song. I don't know if I relate to it at all. You know, I don't relate extremely to it, but I do relate to the holy shit mindedness of it. You know, I'm in a cheap motel without a hope in hell. You know, I can't believe I'm still around. You know, just some of those kind of, just not that I'm like, oh yes, I was so desperate at this time. That's not the point. It's just more about shit. You know, I've had those moments. You're just like staring down something you got to do, something that you're hoping you get right, and you're like, oh my god, you know, just another nervous wreck. And I loved all the things that they were saying. Kind of like it reminds me, that song reminds me a bit of Living in LA by Ambrosia.
Oh yeah, wow, great band.
Lyrically, that they kind of remind me of each other.
I got to open for those guys one time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, super nice guys. Greg and I opened for them as an acoustic duo, and you know, David Pack wasn't there, but all the other guys were still in the band. Man, those guys were so nice, man, and they were really cool. You know.
Yes.
And,
yes.
Down to earth, and they were great.
Yeah. There's some pretty recent footage of them out there on YouTube playing live, and it's just, and I think even one of the videos or something, there's maybe a group of videos where I think they did some things in the studio. Nazareth did this too, I think recently. Well, I say recently, but they, you know, um, they did some like almost promo videos of them playing some of their songs, and they were phenomenal, dead on, right on the mark, just amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they have the female singer too with them now, I think. So.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a great band.
Yeah. Yeah. Really cool.
Pops.
Go ahead.
Oh, I just said
really?
Yeah. Yeah. That was the last time I played Pops, I believe. And I only went back and played there to open up for them. But
what's one of the greatest shows you ever saw at Pops?
The greatest shows I ever saw at Pops?
Yeah.
That's easy. Brian Setzer.
Oh, Brian Setzer? Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that was great. Man, that was a great show. He came out and in fact, he was just here and I wanted to go see him again, but I had a gig. Story of, you know, how many times has that happened?
Yeah.
But he was so good, man. He came out and he had like this 3-piece suit on with a vest and everything, and he's playing his Gretsch, and I'm like, oh, cool. This is the new, like, I'm a mature guy now, and I'm just going to be this legendary, you know, rockabilly guy that comes out and delivers it in this really mature style. And he's playing like that for a while. And then he takes the jacket off and he's just got the vest on. And then the vest comes off. And by the end of the show, he's just wearing a tank top with the gold chain and all his tats out, you know, and you know, standing up on, he runs out with an upright bass and he's standing up on the bass and playing a dual bass solo with his bass player, just going crazy. And I was like, was the most ingenious development of a show that I've ever seen, because it starts out so mature and so sophisticated, and by the end, it's just a frickin' circus happening, you know. And yeah, it's all happening right there at Pops, you know, like it was the kind of show you'd expect to see at the Fox Theater, not in a big bar. So yeah, that was incredible.
Yeah, that's the great thing about Pops. That was the great thing about Mississippi Nights. I mean, there were some killer shows there that, just like you said, it's something you would expect to see at the pageant or even a bigger place. I mean, Mississippi Nights had frickin' Bad English.
Yeah.
Dream Theater.
The Police.
Mr. Big.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, some of the shows, I saw Concrete Blonde play there.
Really?
That was probably the best show I ever saw at Mississippi Nights. I'm thinking, well, no, the best one is Todd Rundgren played there with the a cappella concert. So it was just Todd and 12 singers. And that, like, you could hear a pin drop. It was sold out, but you could hear a pin drop in between songs because everybody was just like, holy shit. You know, it was like just incredible. Probably one of the most incredible concerts I've ever seen anywhere to this day was that.
Man, I think you may remember this because you were here for this. I think Eric Johnson played there on the Avia Musicom tour.
You know what? I think you're right. I remember.
I think he did a KC show there, like a free show or something.
Yeah. I think he did.
I mean,
by the time I saw
Jeff
Eric
Healey
Johnson,
played.
Jeff Healey played there. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy the bands I saw there. And I saw a pop star named Michael Morales there. And the cool thing is that gave me a real life view into what David Cassidy always talked about, because he'd always talked about, I just wanted to rock out. I didn't want to do all this pop stuff. So I'd record the pop record and then go rock it out on the road. And that's the way Michael Morales is. If you hear that first self-titled album of his. It's a great pop record. I love the record still. It's a great pop record, but when he played them at at Mississippi Nights, he killed them. It was great.
Wow. That's very cool.
Yeah.
That was a great venue. And the Pageant and Delmar Hall are both wonderful venues. I love them both, but neither one of those venues make me miss Mississippi Nights any less. Does that make sense?
It does.
I love Delmar. I love Pageant. A ton of respect for both venues. Nothing makes me stop missing Mississippi Nights.
Yeah. Amen to that. Yeah. It was
a place.
Crazy, amazing place. The Landing was a crazy place back in the day. Kennedy's, the Eyes played there like crazy, and then became Pale Divine, recorded an album, and then, First Rock. I saw Canadian. What can I say? Tragically Hip played there. I saw them.
Wow.
And I saw King's X there.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I saw King's X at Mississippi Nights.
Oh man. Oh.
Yeah, man. That's the Landing was just, man. I played so many gigs down there, but more than that, I just went down there so many times. There's never been anything like it since, and I think, Mississippi Nights being on the Landing was part of the whole mystique, or I shouldn't say mystique, but part of the whole attraction.
It was the attraction. That night that I saw Bad English there, Ken Hensley still worked for SLM.
Oh yeah,
and he was there. So you had Ken Hensley, Neil Schon, Ricky Phillips, John Waite. I can't remember the drummer wasn't Dean Castronovo. I don't think. Or was it? And who am I forgetting? That's it. I think. Oh, and Jonathan Cain.
Oh yeah. That was
so you had all of those guys at Mississippi Nights across the street. Before I went to that show, I was at a listening party for Peter Frampton with Peter Frampton and Al Hofer from KC. Wow. We were right across the street at the Embassy Suites checking out When All the Pieces Fit by Peter Frampton and getting autographs.
Wow.
And then I went over and saw all those guys at Mississippi Nights.
Man, that was the magic of the Landing. You never knew what was going to happen or who you were going to see. And to have that entertainment district and all that great music and all those live music venues, right at the riverfront, right by the Arch, right by Busch Stadium. I mean, I don't know what happened to downtown St. Louis. I mean, we all know what happened. It got filled up with crime, but I don't know, who made mistakes, who wasn't watching, who wasn't paying attention or whatever. I don't know all the reasons why downtown has gotten so bad and so opposite of what it used to be. But I love the Landing for so many reasons. Of all the gigs I've played anywhere in my life, very few places have the same energy that you would feel when you were playing at the Landing, or even if you were in the audience watching a band. The energy was vibrant. It was mostly positive. And it was, it was a melting pot of cultures, just all races, all walks of life, from homeless basically to millionaires. I mean, everybody would converge down there and party together. And all the best musicians played there. And if you were playing a gig there on break, you walked next door and watched the band who was playing next door. It was an incredible place. And there's a few other entertainment districts that existed like it in the country, but it was a really special place in St. Louis. And what was great about Mississippi Nights being part of that is you never knew who was going to walk into Boomers or Kennedys or Bogies and end up sitting in with the band there. I remember one night playing down at Boomers, Lucius Boomers. And who's the Canadian chick? Alanis Morissette.
Yep.
Alanis Morissette came walking in with her band. And her drummer was the guy, the Foo Fighters guy that just passed away.
Oh, yeah, because that was interesting because he started with Sats Jordan, so another Canadian, and then went there.
Yeah. And they sat in, the whole band sat in down at Lucius Boomers. Alanis Morissette was wearing sweatpants and flip-flops, and got up on stage. And the thing that blew me away about her is she sang so loud and so hard that, it was just, she was loud, man. And I'm saying that in a good way. She's singing her little butt off. I was hosting a jam night at Kennedy's one time, because Kennedy's would have these jam nights every Tuesday. And they would have different hosts, and they pay you like, $100 and a free tab or whatever to host it.
Been there, done that. Yeah.
So I was hosting. I would try to do one. I would try to go for getting one a month. I didn't always, but there was a lot of us trying to get those because it was easy weeknight money. And anyway, I was hosting one of them, and Fishbone came walking in. And
wow.
And not only did Fishbone walk in, but they decided to come up and sit in, but their guitar player was left-handed. So they asked me if I'd play guitar. So there I was for like 20 minutes playing. And I was like, I don't really know the songs. And the bass player was like, don't worry, I'll just yell out the chords. So
yeah.
And man, I had Ken Kruger was there by happenstance. And he might have been driving the Fishbone guys around. I don't remember, but Kruger was there. And he was like, I have never seen you look so happy on stage. You were playing with those guys, man. That was a great time, and they were real nice. They were like, man, you sound great in guitar. It was just like funk stuff on a Strat. It wasn't hard to play. It was usually just kind of based around, a couple simple chord changes. It was just about feeling the groove. Those guys, man, they were so good. Their musicianship was so incredible, and that was so much fun. Where does that kind of stuff happen? Where would that happen now in St. Louis? Little River Band. One night we were playing down at another night we were playing down at Boomers. This was with the All Stars, and my roommate was Randy Nolch, the sound guy from the Pageant, and he was the sound guy for Little River Band. So he came walking in with all the guys from Little River Band, and they all, a bunch of them sat in, and they're playing All Right Now by Free. I'll never forget that. Little River Band's playing Free, and those guys, somehow, I don't know if it was the next day or what happened, but somehow I remember I ended up with them at Fast Eddie's on like a Saturday or Sunday afternoon. It might have been the next day while they were in town. And Randy was like, come out to Fast Eddie's. I'm meeting the guys in Little River Band. And those guys could drink more tequila than almost anyone I ever met. And,
really?
Like slamming shots of tequila at Fast Eddie's, and I'm like, I gotta go, and I'm like, and they're like, where are you going? I'm like, I'm going home. It's like Saturday afternoon, and they're like, oh, you fucking pussy, I'm like, what? You guys sing Reminiscing, you know, you're slamming shots and calling me a fucking pussy, really? You know, it's like, that's what I said. We're just laughing.
At some point, you're like, I am a fucking pussy. Bye, gotta go.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
I just realized something. For all the years I had drinking shots in bars, I cannot stand my own with a bunch of Australian guys. I give up. I'm going home. You know? But yeah, man, that was. But
Like a fork in me, I'm done.
You know, it's so many great acts would just, you know, I wasn't there, but I guess Stevie Ray Vaughan walked into Boomers one night and sat in with the band. You know, there was just people coming in and sitting in all the time. And it was just incredible place to be. You know, I don't think St. Louis will ever have anything like that again in our lifetime. You know, I mean, that'd be great.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's
Chesterfield is trying, you know, Chesterfield's trying to have this entertainment district, and it's a beautiful thing. I think it's awesome. I think it's wonderful, but you can't. To me, it's like the vanilla version, you know, because yes, West County it's beautiful, it's safe, it's nice. I would go there and I would hang out and I would watch bands, no doubt about it. But it's not the city. The city of St. Louis has a feel and a smell and a atmosphere and a blending of cultures that just make it magical. You know, I mean, even you know, if I'm down in the city to this day, if I'm like down by the riverfront somewhere and that raunchy smell comes out of the sewers, I'm like, oh, I miss that smell. You know.
You remember the bar? Do you remember the bar that was on the corner just down from, let's say you're going down the hill towards the river, and Mississippi Nights is over there, and there's that bar on the corner with the Budweiser sign, right?
Sundeckers?
I guess that might be it. And here it was years ago, Keel put out a reunion album. They had Streets of Rock and Roll, and I did what ended up being on the label for the album. I did a manhole cover piece, which was the artwork for the CD face at the time, but now it's part of the label for the vinyl that I got now. But that I took a shot of the asphalt that's on the background of that album cover. I didn't do the rest of the album cover, but I told him, I said, you know what you need to do for the Streets of Rock and Roll? The CD needs to be a manhole cover. And so Ron's like, how much for that? I said, this much. He goes, why are we still talking? And so I went down there and I found the manhole cover just off of the curb from that bar. And I put the camera right over it and took a shot. So the asphalt that's around that manhole cover that I created is from that spot down there on the landing.
Wow.
So, yeah, I thought this is a great little historical moment, you know, for a piece of graphic that I get to do for an actual international release, you know.
Yeah, so, yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, it's like the Head East cover, you know.
Oh yeah, flat as a pancake.
That was shot over in Olivet. You know,
that was in Olivet.
Yeah, it was the Gateway Diner there on Olivet.
I didn't know that. For some reason, I always thought it was the diner in Peoria. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. No, they recorded the record in Pekin, which is the same place that Styx recorded "Man of Miracles" at Golden Voice Studios, which that I don't even know. My brother lives in Pekin, so I don't know if he said even the building doesn't exist anymore. But then I was a salesperson for the Journals years ago. Here's one of my stories, folks. And I go into this diner, and it's hot as hell. And it's our shitty heat, right, Dave? It's our sweating balls, just nasty ass heat. So I go into that diner, which didn't have Gateway Diner on it anymore. It was just, you know, but once, so I won't say that because it'll throw off the story. So I go inside, and Danny, the guy who runs the place, he's very Irish, and then moved to Florida, he said, "You need some water?" I'm like, "That'd be great," because I wasn't selling shit and I didn't know how to do it in that area. It was a bad demographic for salespeople. So I go, "That'd be great, man." And so I'm relaxing. I look up at the clock and I go, what possessed somebody to put that up there? And he gets a stool out, goes up and grabs it, pulls it down, shows me the back cover, and he says, "That picture was shot here. I made all those pancakes." I'm like, "You're shitting me." And he's like, "No." And I turn, and everything at that time was the same. The same speaker was up on the wall, the same coat hanger, the booths were all the same, the countertop. I'm like, "You made all these pancakes?" He goes, "Oh yeah, I made all those pancakes." And I was just a cook here at the time. And then I took over, I bought the place. So
Wow.
I was like, wow,
Wow. That's
that's pretty
amazing.
cool.
Yeah. That's
So
very cool.
because what a great record too. I mean, like you said earlier, it's just a killer record.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I had the privilege of working with Mike Somerville for about a year and a half.
wow.
I just moved back from Florida, and this is like when I'm in my early 20s, and back in the day when you could actually just be a musician for a living, and work, play 6 nights a week.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been with a band in Florida that was mostly on the road, playing like the Southeast. And we play like, 6 nights a week, typically.
Wow.
Sometimes 7. And I eventually left because I wanted to come back to St. Louis. It's the first time I came back. And but I needed a gig. It was like, well, I got to make some money. And there was a cover band in town called Sergeant Carter, and they needed a sound guy. Their sound guy, Pete Nasser, called me, and I think Dave Kalz gave me my number and recommendation. And so anyway, I told him, I said, I'll commit to I think it was 3 months or 6 months or whatever, but ultimately I want to get a playing gig. And I ended up doing it for like 18, and or maybe it was 15 months, but yeah, I think it was 15. But it was a 6-7 night a week band, and Mike Somerville was the guitar player, and just being able to run sound for them every night and watching Mike play and getting to know him really well and stuff that was pretty cool, And
Yeah.
When I found out I was going to move to Wisconsin, I was like, wow, because Mike moved up there, and I was like, oh, this will be great. I'll look up Mike, and but just several months before we moved up there, he passed away. So
Wow.
wasn't able to do that. But yeah, it's crazy.
Wow.
We're only here for a bit, I guess,
I do want to do these real quick here. Emma says, everyone have a good evening. She had to take off. Need to go now. Great show. She really enjoyed it. And nice to see you, Dave. And Ginger spoke of Suave Octopus at Kennedy's. Seeing them. Yeah, that was a great band back then.
Yeah. So I joined that band. They were already together. But that's the only time I ever got, was written up in Billboard magazine, was through that band, that the band got a write up in Billboard. We thought for sure. Pardon?
Did they have a recording contract? And
no, we thought we were going to get one. And back then, those were still in the days where like getting a record deal was everything, and
right.
And we were, I remember like things were starting to happen, and I was just sitting in my basement practicing guitar or something, and my phone rang, landline phones back then. And I picked up the phone, and it was the head of A&R from TVT Records. And I can't remember, his name was Tom something. And he's like, is this Dave Kalz from Suave Octopus? I'm like, yeah. And he said, this is Tom so-and-so from TVT Records. It's like, how'd you get my number? You know, it's like, oh, we have ways of finding things when we want to get a hold of somebody. And so anyway, I thought we were going to end up with them, but they wanted to do a 7-record commitment, and everybody was kind of freaked out by that, you know. And then I thought we were going to get signed with MCA, and I mean that looked like it was going to happen for sure. And then the A&R guy that was going to sign us just, you know, one day got fired. You know, the record business is so crazy, and so you know, it was just so you never knew who was going to be at a label one day and versus the next day. People were always getting
unpredictable.
Fired. Yeah, it was unpredictable. But we had flirtations from several labels, those being a couple that got real close, but nothing ever really happened. And then when I left, after I left Suave Octopus, I joined up with Robin Ragland, and I was playing with her, and that was another situation where, you know, she had a development deal with Giant Records, and Irving Azoff had taken a personal interest, and you know, he thought something for sure was going to happen, but then, you know, Irving decided to, I guess, relinquish his duties of Giant Records and put someone in charge of it, and that person, I guess, just didn't feel it from the band or whatever. So I don't know what happened, but it didn't happen. But I had fun playing with Robin. It was great, and you know, I had all these almost things, and you know, it wasn't until I'm into my 50s that I actually got a record deal, thanks to Mike Zito, you know, and
Yeah.
And ended up releasing the record. I thought I was way past the opportunity to release a record, you know, and I mean, at least like on a label that had actually, he's got universal distribution, you know, and so it was released worldwide, and you know. That was a great, you know, it's been a great experience. So hopefully I'll do another soon. And it's crazy, man. You think like your time for something has come and gone, but you know, like
That's
Mike. I remember Mike Zito one time. I was like, man, it doesn't seem like age is a factor in blues the way it is and everything else. He goes, let me tell you, man, blues people love old fat white guys. So it's just
like yay.
Stuff with Mike is one of the funniest people I know, but and also just a great dude, you know.
Yeah. Well, you know, one of the things that we do in my band, we have Edge of Blue, and it's like, you know, I was going to just do a blues thing with another band, and so that we could play other places too. But then it just turned out that other band didn't work, and then I just made this blues rock band with a couple of other guys, and it's great because, you know, as I always say, blues touches every aspect. It's like, it almost seems as if music is almost blues centric. It's because blues is in everything. I can't say that metal is in everything. I can't say that, even though, you know, those other ones come around, but it's like blues is at the middle, and you can do pop off of that. You can do metal off of that. You can do country off of that. You can do, you know, what, hip hop off of that. You can do whatever, but it all comes from, it seems like that is something where everybody can meet and go from there.
Yeah.
You know?
That's
true. It.
Blues is in everything. And, you know, a lot of the classic rock, you know, a lot of the music that would have been rock and roll. I mean, we'd call it classic rock because it's old now, but back then it was new, right? So it was just rock and roll. So a lot of the rock music that that was released in the 70s or late 60s or whatever, early 80s.
Mhm.
If that were released now, it would probably be on a blues label, you know, and
Yep.
Billy Gibbons is now considered a blues artist. You know, ZZ Top, if they were just putting out, you know, Rio Grande Mud now, that's a blues record, man. That is a straight up blues record, you know,
Yep.
and if that was released now, it wouldn't be a rock record, it'd be a blues record. You know, I don't know, you know, there's obviously bands that are releasing stuff that are releasing rock records, but that style of rock and roll, which was a big part of what we grew up with, if it was new now, it would be released on a blues label. And I mean, Billy Gibbons' new stuff gets played on Bluesville. I don't hear KC or any of the other rock stations playing the new Billy Gibbons music. They're still playing LaGrange and that stuff, you know.
Yeah,
But
it's my understanding that KC doesn't play any new music,
that's probably where it's at right now. I don't know.
which is sad and gross at the same time.
It is sad, and I'm sure it's just all ratings driven at this point. You know, they have people doing questionnaires and stuff and finding out what people want to listen to, and they probably say, you know, I want to hear Highway to Hell for the 47,000th time, and so Casey's like, that's what people want to hear, so that's what we'll play, you know.
Yeah.
And
I think it just, unfortunately, I think it just dumbs us down. I think that's my only problem.
Well, I think radio's lost its sense of adventure, you know. I mean, the radio stations that we had around in the 60s, you know, I don't remember the 60s, obviously, but, you know, the radio stations that came out of the 60s formed radio as we knew in the 70s and 80s. Mm-hmm. I think it's just gone. And, you know, I mean, I think maybe you can find it on the internet, you know, for sure. There's internet radio stations that are doing that, and even a few of the satellite stations, you know, that are doing some cool stuff. I listen to, you know, Dwight Yoakam's got a station on Sirius Radio, and I like Dwight Yoakam. I like that old, like, twangy, you know, kind of hillbilly country stuff with the, you know, smoking guitar leads and stuff. But Dwight will have like all kinds of cool guests on his show that he interviews, and they sit down and talk for a long time. It's really cool. You know, I mean, here, right.
Consider yourself a cool guest. It says it at the top. Keeping cool with Kalz. It's right there.
Yes.
So
cool with the K, like the cigarettes.
Yeah, and like the guy that breaks through walls.
Right.
Why would you?
Yeah.
Kool-Aid, get out of my freaking house. You just ruined the wall. I just fixed that. I just painted, and you just put a hole in my freaking wall. Oh, yeah. Oops. My God. Looking back, it's one of the dumbest things ever. Just makes no sense.
Well, so, you know, man, it's funny because when I see Cool with the K, I still think of the cigarettes. And I just read an article that I guess the government is talking about banning menthol. So,
wow,
I wonder what that's going to do to Cool cigarettes, man.
Whoops.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I guess they start going like the menthol is really unhealthy, bad for you, and I'm like,
yeah,
just figured that out because like I knew that, you know, we all knew that when I was 17 working at a Sinclair gas station selling Cool cigarettes. You know, we all knew that
with dinosaurs.
Yeah, this stuff has fiberglass in it. You know, it's like
that's just weird. I don't know. People do. We all do the weirdest things. I can't say people like I don't do something. I eat cheese food. You know,
Hey,
I
man.
drink Coke. I don't,
Yeah. I've been trying to get healthier, but sometimes, man, I have certain weaknesses that are tough to,
you and me both.
certain foods, man, they set off like pheromones had happy feelings in your brain.
Yep. They don't call them comfort foods for nothing.
Right.
Drew
Yep.
says, we all know the blues sometimes. Drew says, Maybelline, why can't you be true? I think Dave went to my high school. Well, what was your high school?
I went to
That's
Rosary High
my
School.
buddy Jeff's wife that's saying that. She's a Pimentel.
She's what?
She's a Pimentel. That was her name back in high school.
Okay.
She had older siblings as well. So
Was she related to Cecil maybe or?
yes, absolutely.
Okay. Sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think they
So there
lived
you
right
go.
across the street. Didn't they live right across the street from Rosary?
Yeah, I think so. Just off 270 there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they did.
Lived in the green brick house across the street.
Yeah. Yep. There you go.
There you have it.
Yep. So there was and then the Corrigans, I think, lived next door to them or real close.
Wow.
Esther Corrigan was in my class.
Oh, wow. That's trippy. Yeah, I'll wait and see what she says on that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty wild.
Rosary just shut down about a year ago. A couple years ago, I guess now.
Now, I probably better let you go. But before we go,
practice. Like, I got a 9-year-old kid now, man. It's crazy.
I noticed into soccer, right?
He's into everything. Football, soccer, basketball. He's into all of it. He's like a little jock. I
hate to sound creepy. I was just on Facebook and I'm like, oh, there's some football going on there.
Yeah. He got an interception and ran it into a touchdown.
That's outstanding.
Yeah. He's into it, man. And he plays drums too. I always said jokingly all over the years, I was like, yeah, God's probably going to get sweet revenge on me someday because I'll have a child that'll want to be a drummer. I'll be damned, man, if he wasn't and I tried to get him to play guitar, bass, everything. He's like, Dad, I want to play drums. How many times I got to tell you?
Knock it off. I want to make noise.
Yeah, right. But here's the great thing. Now you can buy an electric kit. You go to Guitar Center for $500-600 and buy a Simmons drum kit. That's probably as good as the $3,000 kits back in the 80s, See
what I'm saying? I spent less than that. I spent less than that on Amazon.
Yeah. There you get them for next to nothing. And
I got a dollar set.
Electric drum set for Christmas. And I've got a Tama kit. It is packed up in the closet under the steps and just sits there. I probably should try to sell it, but it's hard for me to let go of it because and I'm like an average half-assed bedroom drummer, but I was just like, well, there's electronic drums now, so I'm not getting my ears.
And she says the Corrigans lived down the street. There was a big reunion at Rosary.
Yes, I wanted to go, and I was already living in Wisconsin when that happened.
Oh, I gotcha.
I wasn't able to make it down for that, but I saw all the pictures on Facebook, and I couldn't believe it. Just took me right back to the 1980s. It was like, oh my God, it looks exactly the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So your son may have that time in his life where he's going through that Todd Rundgren thing. Just I don't want to work. I want to bang on the drum all day.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. He goes in and out with it. He's good, man. He's got tempo. Like,
Yeah.
I found a really good drum teacher for him here. This guy who's a pro drummer. He used to play with some of the guys in the Gin Blossoms, and
Wow.
played the circuit around here in California. Great guy, man. Great drummer, and he's got a shop called San Marcos Music Academy.
Well, there you go. Cool.
He's got some of the best guitar teachers and bass teach. I mean, he's got all the everybody who teaches there is also a phenomenal musician that gigs out and stuff.
Wow.
And so he's given Chris drum lessons. And he told me, he's like, man, this kid's got natural time. He's good. I'm like,
That's good.
That's cool.
That's good. Yeah.
Because we were worried, and my wife would back this up if she was right here. She would freely admit it. My wife has zero musical talent. One. Oddly, she can dance in time, but she can't. But
well, there you go.
When she tries to sing, I'm like, she'll be like, remember this song? And she'll try to sing it. And I'm like, what song are you singing? Like,
I don't know what you're.
Oh, I didn't recognize it. So anyway, we were worried that Chris would, inherit her musical ability, but he did not. What's weird about Michelle, though, is he still could have got it from her family as easy as mine, because everyone else in her family's got like a natural ear, can just play piano by, just by sitting down. For some reason, it skipped over my wife, and she's always like,
that's
"Do you
my
wish?"
oldest.
Pardon?
My oldest brother like that.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
We all sing. But man, no.
Yeah.
He loves music though. Most of what I talk about here is because of what he started. So
that's cool.
Yeah, you can look at our show. It's called, I did a show with him, actually. He was here at the house, and I'm like, dude, I'm going to do a show. Do you want to do a show with me? And he's like, sure. So it's the Other Brothers Johnson is the name of that show. I'll have to.
You got to be over 50 to get that.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. The truth
That's
is
great.
written in the Strawberry Letter. That's where it is. So.
Yeah, what a great band! Holy smoke!
But yeah, he finally tells the story on that episode about why and when we talk about he gave me my first record, which was Kiss Alive. So he tells the story on there about why he gave it. I never asked him that. I always wondered. I mean, did you give it to me because you didn't like it? And he tells the story from there. So
wow,
yeah,
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So then I guess I'll let you get rolling here. The last thing Cece says here is Art Matthews was the band teacher there at school.
Yes. Art Matthews played in the jazz band.
Yeah.
There.
And Drew says, my brother was a good guest. Very chill. There you go. That wasn't the norm. He does get goofy and shitty sometimes on me, but that's all right. I love him to death. He's a good guy. But now,
what happened? Art had a son named Mike Matthews who played bass, and like when we get like the musicians at school to get together and jam and stuff, Mike would play bass sometimes and jam with us. Wow. What happened to him? But Art was the music teacher the whole time I was there, and I played in jazz band, and I remember we had a talent show, and so I played in the talent show. It was myself, a drummer named Rich Wisniewski, who last time I saw him, he was playing at a band at House of Rock, and then Mark Peterson, bass player, who went on to play with like Joan Baez and just a bunch of big people, and lives in New York City now, plays with, he's had a picture of himself hanging out with Donald Fagen. Very successful dude.
Wow.
So it was the three of us, and then a guy named Carl Krumenacher played keyboards, and he's in California somewhere. And I think he moved. He was in California. I think he may have moved. I'm not sure. And the singer was Colleen McFarland, who actually was no longer going to Rosary High School. She had left Rosary and went to Jennings, but we recruited her to come back for the talent show. She's in Nashville now, or the Nashville area, and she had a couple of songs on Northern Exposure and a couple other TV shows and stuff. So everybody from that little talent show band has had some success, which is crazy. But it was a Catholic high school, and we played Heartless, I think, or Heartless by Heart. I remember we ended with Hell is for Children, and that was like the hot new song, at that time. Mm-hmm. And afterwards, there was a nun. I think it was Sister Carl Mary, who was the principal, and she was like going off on us in the hallway for playing Hell is for Children at a Catholic high school. And I'll never forget, what were you thinking? And Colleen's like, well, I don't know what your problem is. I don't even go to school here. He was like, what are you doing in the talent show? And we're like, I brought her in.
I'm a ringer.
So,
these guys know how to hire a ringer. That's what it's about.
Yeah. And we were just kind of let her be a spokesperson at that point, because she didn't care what the Sister Carl Mary thought. And Colleen always
do you listen to the lyrics at all?
That was fun, man. It was hilarious.
Oh, man.
So anyway, man, I had a great time today. It was really fun.
Thank you. Yeah, if you just give me a couple of seconds here, we'll wrap up. One last thing I want to say. Well, one thing I want to say is I love the record. I'm enjoying that, and now I'm also looking forward to. I told everybody that they want to, when they check out the music, if they want to see what the songs were about, that's right there on your homepage on the web, so they can check that out. I got a link down below, and then also you mentioned, of course, you're thinking about coming back.
Yeah, that's what we want to do. That's our plan. Yeah.
And when do you think that might happen?
Probably 2025, maybe. But well, my wife's got a job out here that she has to see through to a certain goal, and so we're not sure how long that'll take, but and from there it's like we figure out like if she stays on, or if we or not, but we definitely want to move back, and that's our plan.
Well, I'll be sure to give you our set list.
Pardon?
I'll be sure and get you our set list, so when you come into town, if I'm playing, you can come out and sit in on a couple of things.
Well, man, I just like to come out and listen,
So yeah.
Sitting in's fun, but it's not required.
There you go then.
And other people. So yeah. But yeah, man, that sounds great. I'd love to see the band. Sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. We have a good time. They kind of let I said I've got a vision for this band, so if you guys are cool with it, I want your input. If you've got something you want to throw at me, and we'll see if it works, that's great. But you always need somebody to lead the band, right? Otherwise, it just nobody knows where to turn, and
right.
Everything. So
Roger Daltrey once said that there's no such thing as a democracy in a band.
No.
Of course, he's working with Pete Townsend too, but
Yeah, that makes a big. And Keith Moon in the background, you're like, okay, we got to rein this in. Somebody's got to rein.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that part of have you seen the history of the Eagles? Have you watched that yet?
Yes, yes.
I love the part when Joe Walsh was like, and that was when Keith Moon decided he wanted to be my friend. and next thing they're throwing TVs out the hotel into the swimming pool,
Did you know the weirdest? You know about the weird thing about his death, Keith Moon?
No.
Okay, so that was you do know the part with Mama Cass, right? Same room where
Oh,
she
no,
died.
I didn't realize that. No.
So it's the same room where she died, and at the time that Keith Moon was there, the place was owned by Harry Nilsson, and he was like, "I want to." Keith was basically, wanted to stay in that room, and he's like, "Yeah, I don't want you to do that. I don't think that's a good idea to have you in there." Well, he rented the room, and then it's weird that he dies of an overdose of a drug that's supposed to keep him from drinking too much. So dies in the same room as Mama Cass while Harry Nilsson owns the building.
Wow.
So,
and he's gone too.
Yep.
Strange. Yeah. I started watching a documentary on Harry Nilsson. I haven't finished it yet, but
it's like who is Harry or something like that? Who is Harry Nilsson or something like that?
I think so, on Amazon Prime. I think that's what I'm watching it on. Yeah.
Yeah. And then how young did you say your son is?
9.
Have you ever shown him The Point?
The Point?
The Point. That was an animated movie that was done for television, written and music written by Harry Nilsson.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
And you'll probably remember it when you see it. In fact, my last band, Rockman, was named after a character in that show.
Really?
Yeah. You'll probably remember it. He had a hit off of it, called "Me and My Arrow."
Oh yeah, I know that.
Yeah. So it's called The Point, and everybody was born with a point, except this one couple. Now, it was kind of like the Sneetches, with Dr. Seuss, but and then this boy was born just with a round, regular head, no point. So they made him wear a hat that had a point.
That's interesting. Huh.
Yeah, and he had a dog named Arrow, and he was chastised. He was forbidden. He was what do they call that? They kicked him out of the city. So they banished him. A kid and his dog. It's really weird, but it was great. It's a great show.
Yeah, I'll look it up. Yeah, no, my kid's too busy. Well, we have to like set timers and stuff now because all these kids, man, they're like Roblox and well, we finally took what's that game? Fortnite. We had to take that away, Yeah. But he's still he's on Roblox all the time, and then but he's always got this NBA basketball game. He's really pretty obsessed with that, which is pretty cool because it's like real life basketball video, and that's like a positive thing, So trying to really, that's his favorite game right now. So I feel like that's a good thing. But man,
I think that's one of those things where kids they don't act like they want boundaries, but they need them, and they do want them. They just want to know that you're going to stick to it, and it's because they're just looking long and hard to see if they can push you so that you will fall, or if you'll stand straight with that and stick with it enough that they go, okay, I get it. And then you're like, look, I'm not saying you can never do this. I'm just saying right now, while you're developing and getting things done and growing up, you need a limit so that when you get older, you're smart enough to know how to deal with limits, and you learn respect for other people. You respect what your parents say, as long as I don't act a twat, and then, and everything goes to hell, then, I'm just doing it for your own good right now. And then you can make your own decisions when you're older. That's
Yeah.
what that's all about, you know. But
Very well said. Yeah, you nailed it. You know,
yeah,
I always tell my kid, you know, sometimes they'll go, "I hate you, Dad." I'm like, "Yeah, you hate me now, but later in life you'll realize I was right, and I'm doing this because I love you." You know,
yeah.
it's, you know,
Not to mention, if I'm the epitome of what you got to hate, then you're not so bad off.
right. Yeah, you got it pretty good. I let it go. He doesn't say that often, but he's thrown it out there a couple times when I took a game away or told him that was enough, you know. And,
Yep.
you know, it's like blah blah blah, whatever. You know.
Yeah, you're like,
yeah.
Okay, but you still want dinner, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. You know, 10 minutes later, it's like, Dad, you know.
I hate you, but what's for dinner?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
Well, all right. Well, thanks to everybody. Thanks for being here, asking the questions, making some statements, give us some stuff to talk about, and doing the high school thing. That's a St. Louis thing right there.
It is. It's a very much a St. Louis thing. But I think the reason why is like here in Phoenix, 70% of the population is not from Phoenix. You know,
right?
It's a town that people move to.
Mm-hmm.
Not many people were born here. And you could say the same thing about Nashville, about Austin, about Atlanta, about, you know, Minneapolis or San Diego, San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, St. Louis is more of a born and raised kind of town. And I think I used to like take that in a negative way, you know, yeah, nobody's moving to St. Louis, you know, and it's true that St. Louis probably needs to do some things to attract more corporate business and more jobs and things like that. But you know, the fact is that it's not a you know, it's not a destination city where, you know, like, you know, people like, oh man, I want to move to Chicago, you know, or whatever, you know, there's destination cities that people want to live. You know, not many people go like, oh man, I wish I could get a job in St. Louis. I want to move there. You know, not, you know, it's like, I told somebody out here, I was like, you know, where are you from? Oh, I'm from St. Louis. Oh man, I love Iowa. You know, it's like, well, that's good, but St. Louis is in Missouri, you know, FYI. Looked at a map for a while. But, you know, I think the fact that a lot of people who live in St. Louis grew up in St. Louis, that's why high school becomes the bigger thing. But, you know, I think you're judged a little bit on your zip code, you know, maybe too. I remember like I was 21, 22, and I'd be out at bars and trying to impress girls and stuff. If they were, you know, if they asked me where I was from, I would say like either Bell Fountain Neighbors or Spanish. Like I didn't want to say Jennings because Jennings was already getting a bad reputation for crime and, you know, just a lot of problems happening, you know. And I don't know when that transformed, but now I have no problem. Like I was raised in Jennings and I'm proud of it. You know, it was a great area to grow up in. Not only was it a great area to grow up in because it was a real family oriented town, it was also very culturally diverse. You know, it was just like a mix of like whites and blacks and Latino, and everybody lived there, and that was just the way of life. You know, it wasn't until I got older and moved out of Jennings that I realized that there was all this racism and stuff going on because you just didn't think about it, you know. It was just like you had all kinds of friends, you dated all kinds of people, you know. It's like it wasn't a thing, you know. You just judged people who they were, not by the color of their skin or their nationality. And so now as an adult, I look back on that and I'm like, wow, I'm really glad I grew up there. You know, I'm glad I grew up in North County. I'm glad I grew up in Jennings. You know, I feel like I was very lucky. And I also feel like it put some soul in my blood. You know, it's like, I was exposed to a lot of good music that I might not have gotten exposed to if I grew up in Des Peres or whatever, you know. I you know, it's a weird thing in St. Louis, and people that move to St. Louis from other cities, they're kind of like, what's up with people want to know where high school you went to, you know?
Right.
But it's, you know, now I went to a Catholic grade school and high school because my mom and dad were devout Catholics, you know. But all the parties I went to were local. I went to rosary parties, but I didn't go to as many of those because, you know, you had to drive. It wasn't, you know, if I'm living in Jennings, so-and-so's having a party, but it's in Spanish Lake, or it's in Ferguson, or it's in Bellefonte Neighbors. Or I could just like walk 2 blocks and there's a big party around the corner of my, you know, at the guy or the girl who lives down the street, you know. So it was a lot easier to just go to the parties in Jennings, which was a lot more of the Jennings high school people. And, you know, man, I kind of grew up with the best of both worlds happening, you know, and it was a great experience.
Yeah, mine was almost the opposite, being in a small town outside of Peoria, and it was white. That was it.
Yeah,
but
that's
fortunately,
too.
Fortunately, my mom, you know, they taught us, you know, it's, hey, everybody's everybody. You know, we don't carry around that. You know, when I look back on it, I think of it this way: we don't carry around that burden of prejudice against a color, whatever. We didn't carry that burden. That wasn't a cross to bear, because my mom and dad, mainly my mom, who was a little more vocal, was the one that just did not allow that. She, you know, so when like this very tall black gentleman visited our church, it wasn't like, oh my God. It was just like, hey, this is such and such. Oh, hey, how's it going? You know, and, you know, looking back, it was, there was no diversity in my town, but we weren't taught, fortunately, again, in my house, it was bullshit to have any thoughts against anybody who just looked differently than you. That was,
it's all about your parents, how you're raised. You know, that's the bottom line. My wife's from a small little farm town, and you know, she was raised the same way. You know, it's about how you're raised. And hey, man, there's plenty of white people in Jennings that you know, as soon as they started seeing people of different colors moving in, they threw a for sale sign out in front of their house. You know, they didn't want to stay. So you can be right there, raised in a culturally diverse neighborhood, and still be a racist. You know, it's everywhere. You know, and you know, I was just lucky that my mom and dad weren't that way. You know, and so you know, we didn't really see it, but but we saw people like, you know, running away from Jennings, and we were like, why are they moving? You know, you know, it's like. So, you know, man, that's, you had good parents and good family.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I feel so, I'm very blessed to have had that, and to grow up not even thinking about it. You know what I'm saying? There was never a point where I'm like, I don't know. You know, I knew the differences, and we were always just, you know, whatever. So then it helped me out when I moved down here, because then it was, you know, okay, you know. It's
St. Louis is a great place, man. It's you know, there's a lot of diversity in St. Louis, and there's a lot of music history, and there's you know, the music history of St. Louis is great. You know, Chuck Berry, Miles Davis, Ike and Tina Turner. I mean, it just goes on and on. You know,
Even Vincent Price, for crying out loud.
Vincent Price, yeah.
Vincent Price, who's in one of the most popular singles of all time. You know.
Yeah.
So that's.
He lived in the Central West End, but he also, for a while, they lived in Ferguson too.
Really? I didn't know.
Yeah. Huge house, man. The one is a big old historic mansion. His family was kind of wealthy, I believe. But yeah. St. Louis has a lot of history. So I'll be back in May. I'm playing the Dave and Greg show. We're going to play at Cyberg's on Gravois on May 17th.
Oh, so, May 17th?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm glad we said that.
I'll be in town for a few days and
okay.
And we're going to do a show on there, so it'll be fun.
All right, because that's one of the days that Dogs of Society is playing as well. So,
cool.
So I think you've helped me make the decision of when we're going to Dogs. So,
okay.
So if they're doing the 16th and the 17th over at the Wildie. So.
Yeah, that's a great place.
Yeah, it is. I just saw Angel there again. That was cool.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Not a bad scene.
Okay, so that's the Dave and what do you?
Oh, the Dave and Greg show. It's with Greg Hull.
Dave and Greg show.
Yeah, that's our acoustic duo. We're playing Cyberg's on Gravois from 7 to 11.
Great food, people. If you happen to be in the St. Louis area, definitely go and enjoy yourself. May 17th, there at Cyberg's and on Gravois, because they have great food. And these guys will be doing some great music and stuff, and I'll be there. So I freaking love Cyberg's. I love it. I love the wings. I love the shark bits. I love the pizza.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So I'll be well fed that night.
Right on.
So what I'm going to do is I'll put this graphic up here real quick, and then we'll close out the show. If you can hang tight, my ending track goes for a second, but just hold on.
Okay.
And I'd love to talk to you real quick before you go. So folks, Dave, thank you again. Thank you everybody for chiming in. This has been awesome. And we're going to have you back on. And
awesome.
Then I will look forward to seeing you next month, that's going to be right before the end of our school year too. So.
Oh yeah.
So that'll be great. So thanks everybody. We will see you next time on Hammerway, which will be next Wednesday, but always keep your ears and our eyes open, because you just never quite know, because newsflash, there's things to talk about. I've got unboxings to do. I got some brand new vinyl, not brand new vinyl, but it's new to me, that I ordered. I also have another music box set that I just purchased. So keep your eyes open. I'll be back on this. And of course, I'll be back at 7 o'clock here with Jeff to do the Go Game Go show. So take it easy, folks.
Can you